The Japanese parent company that owns the 7-Eleven chain of convenience stores has officially turned down an acquisition offer from Quebec's Couche-Tard. The offer, which was valued at around $38.6 billion US, was rejected after the board of that company deemed it not in their best interest. Let's find out a little bit more with Andrew Willis, Globe and Mail reporter. Andrew, welcome back to the program.
Be here.
So
lots going on at Circle K.
Oh my goodness, so much is going on. But here's the thing. Like, obviously, I'm biased in this issue, Andrew. I only want this deal to go through so that there are cheaper and more direct flights between Montreal and Tokyo. But
I want this to go through because there's going to be better food in 7-Elevens.
So this is what I want to get to here, right? Let's talk about all of the issues at play here. First things first. This rejection. What does it really mean for this to have this initial rejection out of Japan?
Oh, this is a tactic. This is not the end of the story by any means. This is we are willing to date you. We just want a better promise. We want it's about money, really. This is about 7-Eleven saying you're opportunistic. You're taking advantage of the fact that we've got a lot of distractions. There's an activist who's been making suggestions on how 7-Eleven could be run better. And they're just trying to get more money out of Couche-Tard. And Couche-Tard, for its part, has done exactly what a sensible buyer would do. They're saying, we're going to make an opening offer. If you tell us, reasons to pay more, we're willing to pay more. But we're going to be disciplined here, and we're not going to overpay for what is a great convenience store asset. And for those readers who don't understand the scope of the Japanese company, they own the 7-Eleven stores in the United States, but they also own a total of 85,000 stores, including an unbelievable franchise in Japan and in Taiwan and Mexico, all over Asia. Like, this is a heck of a convenience store company.
So this is what's so interesting, right, Andrew? So Couche-Tard, in their previous deals they've done around the world, they don't like to overpay, yet we have a crown jewel opportunity, right? And sometimes when you have a crown jewel opportunity, maybe even for a company like Couche-Tard, they say, "Oh, well, we can overpay just a little bit." Well, how do you think this plays out with future offers from Couche-Tard and how much wiggle room they have there?
I think it's going to take several weeks, if not a month or two, to play out. One of the limits on Couche-Tard is how much can they borrow. Like, this is a $50 billion transaction. It's going to strain the limits of the capital markets in Canada and the U.S. If it gets financed. Now, the issues, you get down to some finance things here, but what Couche-Tard has to do is to make sure that it borrows enough money to make 7-Eleven's parent happy, while at the same time not getting into non-investment grade or junk bond status. So I think the debt levels that they're willing to take on are probably going to set the price that they're willing to pay. And they can borrow about $20 billion US dollars, like real dollars, and still maintain an investment grade rating. So that's kind of the starting point, is what are markets willing to give Couche-Tard? How much money are markets willing to give Couche-Tard to get them into this game? And it's a lot, but it's not an unlimited amount. And the last thing Couche-Tard wants to do is to blow up 4 decades worth of sensible deal making on one transaction. But they're willing to pay up. Your point from the start that this is a crown jewel, it's very, very true.
With Andrew Willis from the Globe and Mail talking about Quebec's Couche-Tard and its attempt to buy the 7-Eleven chain, the company that owns the 7-Eleven convenience store chain. Andrew, where would this rank, if this thing were to go through, in the history of Canadian business deals? Where would this rank?
This would be top 3 in terms of Canadian takeovers of foreign companies. I mean, I'm trying to think if any of the big pipeline deals or anything else matches the $50 billion price tag. I'm hard-pressed to think of it. The bigger impact, though, is Japan. This would be the largest foreign takeover of a Japanese company ever. And as much as we love Circle K's and the Couche-Tard chain in Quebec, 7-Eleven in Japan is a huge part of the retail life. It feeds a lot of people. It plays this very prominent role in Japanese society. So for a foreign company, for a Quebec company to own a Japanese icon, that would be a big cultural change in Japan. And by the way, one that the Japanese politicians are saying we may need to make. We may need more foreign investment in our aging society to make things work. But this becomes a very big test case of how open is Japan to foreign takeovers.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a bit here, because it really, and I've seen and heard, right? There's a debate in Japan over just how open to be to foreign capital investment here. This comes down to this decision. I think it speaks to the entire country in general. Do you have any inclination as to where the Japanese regulators will fall on something like this?
It's a very interesting question. The Japanese government and Japanese regulators have really worked hard to say, we are open to foreign investment. We need more capital. We've got an aging society. So where is the Japanese consumer in all this? And will there be a backlash at the idea of losing domestic control of a company like 7+I, which is the parent company to 7-Eleven? I think it's the public sentiment that we don't really understand. The regulators, they've made their position clear. They want foreign takeovers. They've liberalized the rules around capital markets in Japan. They're encouraging this deal. They're encouraging Couche-Tard to come to town. I'm not sure the Japanese public is on side yet. And that's one of the next steps here is, will there be any sort of public outcry in Japan saying, no, you shouldn't be allowed to take this over? And in the past, Japanese government has used lots of sort of non-regulatory means, plus the rules, to discourage foreign investment in Japan. So there's a potential here for the public to somehow help influence the debate, but the Japanese regulators have been pretty clear. They would like companies like Couche-Tard to spend a lot of money in Japan.
Judging by previous deals in other industries or even in this industry with takeovers, right? Do you have a number in mind? Do you think, hey, Couche-Tard, increase your bid by 10% or 20%? Do you have a number in your mind where you think Couche-Tard can get this done?
So if I can do it in yens, I've got a sense of what the gap was, and they're about 20% apart. So the Couche-Tard stock's trading around 2,100 yen per share. Our understanding was that the initial offer from Couche-Tard was, look, we'll go to the mid 2,000 yen, so about 2,400, 2,500 yens, and 7+I wanted 3,000 yen. So that's kind of the gap, and that's multiple billions apart though. So they're probably 4 or 5 billion apart in what it needs to make this a friendly deal. The other element of this transaction, which is different from a lot of North American transactions, is Couche-Tard knows they have to have a friendly deal. They have to have 7-Eleven saying, yep, we welcome you in, because all the cultural barriers, all the regulatory barriers that we talked about a moment ago with trying to do a takeover in Japan, those barriers would preclude a hostile takeover. If in North America, occasionally you can do a deal even if the board of the company you're trying to buy is objecting to it. You can't go hostile going into Japan. It just won't work. And Couche-Tard has said that right from the start. They want a friendly deal. They're going to probably have to pay up to do it. So again, that's the $50 billion number that you keep hearing in the press. That's probably what this transaction is going to cost.
So
our friends at Couche-Tard.
Andrew, listening to you here, I've been thinking, my brain has been going left, right, and center while I'm hearing you talk. And the culture thing is a big part of this deal. Let me throw something at you. I know this is a pipe dream, but I'm going to throw it at you anyways. All right. So Alain Bouchard, right, the founder of Couche-Tard, he was rumored at one point to being one of the billionaire investors to bring a baseball team back to Montreal. So here's what I'm thinking. We all know baseball is monster in Japan. The second biggest professional league is in Japan, right?
Yes.
So are you feeling what I'm about to say? We bring back the Expos, but they're not the Montreal Expos. They're the
I love it.
They're the Couche-Tard Expos, because in Japan all the teams have corporate names. So it's the Couche-Tard Expos playing out of Montreal in Nippon professional baseball. That seals the deal.
I love it. The road team, that's the road trip across the Pacific to play games in the Big O. Yeah, we can refinish the Big O. Look, Alain Bouchard's got a lot of dreams. I think I give him a 60% chance of landing this one. 40% chance they get turned down by 7-Eleven, but I do love a Canadian entrepreneur, a Quebec entrepreneur who's willing to try and do these big deals. It's great to watch.
It's such a great story. I've had real fun, Andrew, talking to you about this last couple of weeks. Thanks so much for joining us.
Look forward to keeping you updated. Take care.
From the Globe and Mail right there, that's Andrew Willis.